Deborah, with her 30 years of being an entrepreneur and creating over 7 companies, knows exactly what it means to accept the mission. When you make that decision, when you accept the mission to become a solopreneur, to take yourself and your talents to market, then you embrace a life of not only unlimited possibilities, but also the unknown. It's an elixir of fear and bravery that only someone who's taken the leap really understands. On our show, Deb digs deep with her guests to highlight what you, the listener, wants to know. The stories, the whys, and the hows to navigate the journey to success. Get ready to hear from some of the most incredible mission takers from Generation Z to Boomers. So sit up, perk up, and get ready to be blown away. Now here is your host, Deborah Drummond.
Hello. Welcome back to Mission Accepted. I hope you are excited today because I am. So many of us, let me see, do I have a word for you? So many of us, you guys included, not only the best podcast audience ever, but you guys are the kind of audience that, man, you just make legacy. You guys are legacy listeners today. I love it. Oh, ironically, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that with our guests. Are you guys starting to see kind of what I'm doing here? But no, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening and sharing and commenting and spreading the word. It's super, super cool because look at, you might be already taking the mission. I don't know where in the mission of the process that you are. You might be at the beginning where you're thinking of doing that. You might be 5 years in going, what did I think I was doing that? Or you might be sailing in that 35th year and go, I am unemployable. I could never work for anyone again. I've jumped off this mission. I'm doing this incredible philanthropy project, or I'm doing this or doing that. And man, it's been bumpy. And if I was to look back, I would have no idea how to explain all those bumps. I just know I'm still here. That's leaving mission legacy. So look, we have Natalie, who is just got some time to pop onto our show today. And she's got an incredible legacy story. But I'm going to ask her as someone who's a entrepreneur. She does publishing. She's an author. She has programs, books. She's a big part of the stand up, speak up, and show up. You guys know that crazy 375 women, little party that we're throwing that you're invited to, right? So she's in the book and she's speaking because that's what she does. So she's an entrepreneur for sure. But at some point she had her back against the wall, or at some point she had to make the decision to take on the mission of what it is that she did then and now does. So I can't wait to hear it. I know a little bit of her story, but I can't wait to hear more. So Natalie, thank you so much for coming on Mission Accepted today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deb. It's so excited to be here. And I can't wait to meet all of the wonderful women that are in part of this.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I know you were sharing today that you got to meet another woman who's part of the project, and she, like you, I can imagine you guys getting along because she, like you, is a speaker and a leader and an author. So look, I keep talking about you doing some things, but tell us, how did you decide to mission out? What was it that kind of caught your attention about this crazy life?
Yeah, well, I was in book publishing and I was working with authors, but I always sat in the background and pushed them out and encouraged them to be authentic and tell their stories until about 6 years ago. I went on vacation with my family in Cuba and almost didn't come home. I had a near-death experience, and that completely shifted not only my mindset, but my thoughts of what am I doing with my time? Where am I in life? And am I living my best legacy? Am I putting efforts into creating the life that I want to be remembered for? And, checking off those boxes. I call it your legacy list, your bucket list, right? And when I started to analyze and think about it, it was like, I'm not. A lot of times I'm building someone else's dream. And so that was when my company Gifts of Legacy came about. I thought it's time for me to tell my story. I never want someone else to feel so unprepared as I did. Not only like the important, the will wasn't updated. Who knows where the will is? All the little important things. But what about the heartfelt messages? What about the heart legacy. My daughters at the time were high school and college. And so what about if I wasn't there? How could I have left a message when they were rocking their first baby and be part of their lives, or just give that motherly love that they may need at that time? And then I started thinking, how many people out there have had similar experiences, or went to the grocery store and never came home, or just never woke up. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so that's when I thought legacy is my mission. I just have to, get it out there that if you're on that hamster wheel of life and you're just going to work, doing the grind, coming home, cooking dinner, sitting in front of the TV, and not building that life and legacy that you want to be remembered for, not putting effort into the relationships, not only family, friends, business, not being your full self, you're losing out, and you're going to look back with regrets. And that's where I said, this is my mission.
Well, so let's unpack that a little bit, because there's a lot in there, and I'm sure people, were ting, 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 even for myself, who's someone who's fairly prepared. I think, that happens, right? Also, that was one that really was drilled down by my mother, right? She was just to be prepared. She was in credit. So she was like, be prepared. But I think I had my first RRSP at like 24 or something. So the point that the part that I just want to stop back at, it's like, your life wasn't awful, yet you made a change due to a situation. And sometimes it's a harder decision to go from good to different, to go from great to different, to shift from things aren't broken, but things aren't the best either. I mean, that's a really difficult place to pivot from, because it's one thing to pivot, and we've all heard that word way too many times, when the walls come crashing in, or something situational happens, or, for me, I've just lost my best friend of 42 years. It certainly made me think different about life, right? Because there was something, again, situational, outside of my control that happened. But when it's you and things aren't awful, right? Before you went to Cuba, you're like, hey, I'm going to Cuba with my family. And then you came back and you decided to make differences. It's like, so there's a quiet voice inside us. Or, so what was it like to go from something that wasn't bad into something different?
You know what? I'll never forget that pit in my stomach. That's what it was. It was like, if I didn't get tomorrow, what were all those regrets? What were all those things that, or think about it this way: if I gave you one more day, would you reach out to? What would you do? What are the things that you would get in order? And it could be the little things like, oh my gosh, I never told anyone the password to my computer and put it somewhere where the person could access all our family photos, all my writing, whatever's on my computer.
Wow. It's really interesting, right? It gives a whole different word to the word living will. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it gives a whole different word to that. So you've had this, beyond, I'll say, epiphany. Decided to, so what platform do you share that information with people? Like, did you write a book and there's a to-do book, or is there, like, how are you getting the word out about your experience and what you did? Because even as you're talking, and I'm a pretty prepared, I was a good brownie, right. I got all the badges on my scarf, and I'm fairly prepared. I have a lot of those things, like, my family knows where to go and blah, blah, blah. And I update my will every 2 years and all those kind of things. But there's still bits and pieces, right? There's still bits and pieces that you've said. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, all my passwords. Well, I know who knows all my passwords. Actually, so do you. Yeah. But do my people know that person knows all my passwords?
Right. Exactly.
Where can you, like, did you put something together? Like, is there a book or?
I did. So after that, I decided I needed to write my own book. So it's Gifts of Legacy, the ultimate blueprint for generations to enjoy. And it gives you a path of, first of all, it's my near-death experience. And then I share how Gifts of Legacy came about and how you can leave your legacy. And think about this. Think about, first of all, legacy is not, the way I speak with legacy, it's not for the older person. It's for everyone. I know that you have children.
Absolutely.
So think about this. What if something were to happen, God forbid, to one of your children, but you found an area, or you knew the password, and there were, hey, mom, oh my gosh, I just want to tell you, like, the cookies that you make for us every Christmas, I cherish those. And I want to pass those on to my, kids.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that for our family. Or, hey, just thanks, mom. Thanks for all the support and stuff. Sometimes that little 2-second or 2-minute video, if you found it after, would mean the world, and you'd watched it over and over. And one of the things, if you've ever seen the 9/11 phone calls, it's a documentary, and it will hit home for you, because it was all these families waiting to see, and in the towers and in the planes, everyone's phoning home. And if they weren't home, they were leaving these beautiful messages, that last message to their families.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people have old recorders. Yeah, right?
Woo! I haven't even watched the show. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. No, it's heart-wrenching, but that is that piece of them. Like there was a gentleman that said, I won't get rid of this recorder because it's my son's voice,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Okay, everybody, just, if you're driving, keep driving. And if not, you can just, wipe your tears. It's a touchy subject, but thank you for taking it on. Like, look at some of these things that we don't want to talk about. I was talking to someone yesterday about, she's going to be doing some speaking, and I'm going to be doing some speaking, probably about a topic that no one really, not topic, but it's like, it's going to ruffle some feathers. It's difficult to talk about the difficult stuff, right? And so good on you, so good on you for bringing attention to that, because it is the little things that matter. I mean, I know, for those of you that remember Build-A-Bear, you remember Build-A-Bear, and you could do a little voice thing inside, and you could put it inside this bear. And, as your kids get older, you keep things and don't keep things. Well, the Build-A-Bear of my daughter to my son, because there's 10.5 years apart, that gave a little message. And I hope these things never die, because he's got a Build-A-Bear of my daughter's voice. And those kind of things, you don't you don't want to get rid of. You're right.
Yeah.
So
but there's a happy side to it too. Like, if you think about, like, oh, I have to leave a legacy, I got to do this. But if you're thinking, what is the wisdom? Like, look at Deb. How many businesses have you been successful at? How many things have you learned along the way? How many mistakes have you made? And then went, oh, I'm not going to make that mistake again, because I've done it, learned from it, and now I know better. What if you could write those in a book, in a journal, somewhere, record it, like just press Zoom and talk. And the beautiful part is, one of the things I do is I have a system that saves these in your personal file for your lifetime and 100 years. And you have to have a beneficiary on the account. So you could do business, and you could give that access to business people. You could have one for just your children, one for your spouse, one for your parents. It's individual. You create and leave the legacy you want. And one of the things, our kids, depending on what age they are, they don't know how maybe we met in our first date, or, how the birth was. Or, just stories of the first time I held you in my arms. Yeah. Those are the things that can be captured. Even you, if you and your spouse want to sit down and just make a recording of some funny stories when you were a kid, and you could do that to each child and just have those as memories, Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I got to tell you, one of the most profound funerals that I went to was, the year before funerals had to exit a little bit. And my girlfriend's mother, who I knew and people knew, and I've known her for 20 years, but her mother did that. But she had a video, and she talked about things that her daughter wouldn't have even known. Like, in the war, we had to hide under our desks in England, and things that no one would know but her. That was so interesting, just interesting. And different aspects of Rose's mom that no one would have known, even her daughter. So I really, So are all those things in your book, or do you do classes or programs or people? I mean,
I
here's
do
the thing.
both.
I've been an advocate of get a will done, get a will done, get a will done forever, because my
Yeah.
mother was like, get a will, get a will, get a will. And so, for some reason, I've been really good on that. But I talk to a lot of people, and I'm not 18. I talk to a lot of people. I'm like, do you have one? They're like, eh. I'm like, what do you mean, eh? Like, but it's a difficult thing to do. It sits on the desk. It goes from the desk to the bedroom, from the bedroom to the living room. Next thing you know, you're filing it. And a lot of people don't have one. And I would imagine it's because it's a difficult conversation subconsciously. I think consciously and linearly we can go there. But so do people work with you one-on-one, or how do people get through that? You must come up against that in your work.
Yeah. So my motto is don't leave a mess, leave a legacy. So if you think about it that way, if you were just taken out tomorrow, you're going to you may leave your family in a very stressful, oh my gosh, do you think mom wanted a funeral, or did she want just a get together with people to celebrate her life? Does she want to be buried or cremated? Does she want happy songs or church songs? Does she, there's all these, if you don't lay that out for your people, you're stressing them out. Is that what you want to do? Or do you want to take some time and go, yeah, I want them to have a party. I want them to sit around and tell funny stories about me. And yeah, let's play some of my funny video stories, like you said. Mm-hmm. They'll know what songs, they'll know what I prefer. And it takes the stress off them.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with, don't leave a mess, leave a legacy. That's really profound. I think that's, because you have to trigger something. You got to make it, because I don't think people don't want to make it easy for their people, but it's just that, kind of moves. It's like when people are writing a book, let's talk about that a little bit, because you've written these books, but I want to write a book. I've always wanted to write a book. And we know statistically only 1% of people actually write a book, right? So that's the last stat I got. Maybe you've got something newer, but like only 1%. It's kind of like same as marathons. Only 1% of the population in the world has done a marathon. So, but I don't think there's many people that want to do a marathon and read a book. They're like, I'll write a book. Okay.
Yeah, I'll write a book before a marathon.
Somehow they hit the pen to paper, but anyways, tell us what else is going on for you, and what process, tell us what's going on, and then tell us like a little bit about, from an entrepreneur standpoint, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not a writer. I am absolutely, I was like the math and science brain. I never felt good at writing, and I never enjoyed it. But when you have a passion, and I'm a storyteller, I love to tell stories, and I love people. So 90% of my book was written through speaking. Mm-hmm. But here's the key, and this is a workshop that we put on. It's and this is for more business people, but we can do it the same workshop for memoirs, but it's create your best-selling book outline. It's a 3-hour workshop, and it's intense because we do the background research. We make you do some pre-homework. But when you leave, you have every step. You know what's in chapter 2, you know what business, if you have links or capture pages or whatever, like, where to talk about them, where to add that in, what link to have at the end of the book, what's the next step that your readers take with you. So when you have that all laid out, then writing a book is easy. Because it's like, it's no different than when you have a plan or a business plan. You know the steps that you need to go through. You know what makes it successful. You know that these 3 components have to be in there to make a bestseller. Yeah. So once you get your book outlined like that, it's a breeze. Yeah.
Well, like there's, obviously there's different ways. And I think that relieves stress for the brain, right? It's like, yeah. And like you said, when I wrote my first book, I wrote it as well, like this, to my phone, and my phone typed it out. I was like, that's perfect. And
Yep.
honestly, and that's what editors are for. I'm a true believer. I'm not going to pretend, I used to win awards in magazines for writing articles. But if you told any of my people that, they're like, have you read her text? Like, she doesn't even grammar text properly. Right. I'm like, look, what do you want from me? You want verbiage? I'll give it to you. You want it with the right semicolon? Wrong girl.
Me
Just
too.
wrong girl.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
you know what I mean? You sometimes, but I now, I do my best if I'm writing it to someone that doesn't know me. But if you know me, you'll get there. You'll show up at my place. You want someone to cook you a crazy, amazing dinner? I'm the girl. You
Right.
want someone to put in a semicolon in the right place?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I always say that Siri doesn't speak Canadian.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back on path. We could have a good time here. Okay, look, you said yes. And I think that's a big part of being an entrepreneur. I was talking to a woman today. I'm like, God love Richard Branson, say yes when you want to say no and figure it out, right? Say yes and figure it out. But it takes a lot to say yes. And it sounds like, you went through that process as well, where you were helping everybody else. And you obviously were in your happy place, helping people promote themselves and authentic. And, there's great background singers that are just as profound on the mic as the person singing in the front. So I think we all know that, everything's a team. And then you had that moment where you decided to step out and go solo, right? And be that singer on the front there. I'm going through that process right now because I have a lot of women that want to be in the book and a lot of women that want to speak on the summits. And you can hear it. I know you hear the little hesitancy and they're like, yeah, but I'm not, because there's always feature speakers or people like us that are versed and done it. And they're like, I'm not that yet. I'm like, well, you don't need to be that yet. But what was the process for you when you had to start saying yes? Or even when you said yes to this book and this big project? And, what is it that we have to, get over to play, to really play?
Yeah. Well, I think a big part too is because I was always in the background helping other authors share their voices. That was my comfort zone. So when I changed positions, I am not a confident person to stand up in front of the room and stuff, but I had to say, if I'm going to live my best legacy, if I'm going to have an impact, I have to get over my fears. And if I'm authentic, I'm going to connect with people, and the right people will see my value and they will want to, be by my side. And when I met you, Deb, it was like just your authenticness, your desire to lift up other women. It was like, boom, there's no question that I want to be in this book and be showcased alongside you and the amazing women that are going to be in this book, because we're all making a difference in the world in our own way. So why not lift each other up together and do this together? So it's so exciting to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you talking about that, because here's the interesting thing. No matter where you are, by nature, we always think, yeah, but they're in the book, or they're on the summit, or they're this, or, well, who's the other speaker? Who's the other speaker? I have to say, it's pretty interesting. I've done books with women. I've done books with men. That was a really big one for men over women. They were like, who else is in the book? Who's in the chapter behind me? Who's in the chapter in front of me? And I was like, it was very interesting. It was very different for them wanting to know that. And the more prominent someone was, the more, that was kind of how they made their decisions, where women are much more relational by nature. But I find that even no matter what level we get to, whether, you're a compiler as well, I'm a compiler as well. So we've obviously played in this, whether it's a speaking summit or what have you, we still have our nerves. Like, we still get a little nervous. I mean, people like, you spoke in front of 20,000. I'm like, and I wanted to throw up first. You know what I mean? And if I had to go speak to 20,000 next week, I'd probably want to throw up again. I think there's still that place in your head of, the not enough, whatever that is, not enough, whatever, just put a word there, not enough. And that's where, for me, I don't know what you do, maybe share, but for me, I listen to Brene Brown and I listen to Oprah. Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
my two not enough solutions.
Who's the second one? Renee and
Brene Brown and Oprah. I'll put on
Oprah.
some of their stuff. You know, I have things for different people. Like I need to get it going. I'm listening to that Navy SEALs, you know, like get up and make your bed in the morning. And, you know, like I listen to that, or I'll listen to different people. You know, yesterday I was walking and I was like, oh, I need Steve Harvey. I need some God stuff. Give me some Steve. And Steve Harvey's like, and if you don't believe in God, this ain't for you. And I'm like, okay, Steve, let's go.
Right.
You pump me up, brother. But I think we do have a not enough, and you know, and how do you get past that? Because I get nervous when I get asked on certain stages. I just got asked today, and I was looking at those other speakers. I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure, sure, I'll go there. Yeah. So how do you and you know, sometimes we have to pay to play. So I'm like, oh, okay, you got to get across the price issue. You got to get across the, you know, stage issue. You got to get across the all that. What do you do?
Well, I write about that in my book, and I call it the nails in your life. And I have a little story that I was walking down the street and I see this couple on their porch, and there's this dog in the middle, and he's howling and whining. And so I just kind of waved and walked on by. And when I was on the way home, I come back and I could see the dog howling still, and they're not even paying attention. So I kind of stopped and said, hey, is your dog okay? And they said, oh, yeah. He sits there between us, and there's a nail coming up out of the floorboard, and it pokes into him and it hurts. So he just whines about it. And I said, why wouldn't he move? And they said, well, we don't know. You know what? It doesn't hurt him enough to get up and do something about it. And that's so many of us let things in our lives hold us back, or it's not quite painful enough to make a change. And that's why I feel like create your ultimate best legacy you can. And that pushes me, even though I'm like, oh, you know, self-comparison. Oh my gosh, like, look at, you know, maybe I'm not the perfect body image that I want to be. You know what? I think I have a good message, and I think I can help others make their lives better and be prepared for their families to leave an amazing legacy for their families. So it's not about my body image, it's about my message. Even though there's still the nerves, and there's still like, maybe I'm not the best speaker, maybe I'm not the best writer, but you know what? The first email I got after I launched my book, it was from an older gentleman, and he said, you made me cry and broke me down to a place where I saw legacy in a whole different way. And I was like, boom, you know what? I'm not afraid to do anything, because the people that need to hear it will. And that's all that matters.
Yeah. And you remind me, it's interesting when you say, like, I may not be the perfect body type, or I may not be this, or I may not be that, or what have you. You know, we can easily glomp onto one thing, whatever we decide to glomp onto. I'm not, you know, whatever it is, or I don't have a PhD in this, so I can't talk about it, or I don't blah, 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 or whatever it is. Whatever it is, we glomp onto something, and just be really careful of that, because there's two sides. And me and Dorothea call it the gremlins, right? It's like the gremlin can get you. You need to tell the gremlin to go on holidays, and just keep moving forward, and move forward even while the gremlin's still talking. It's like, shut up for 5 minutes while I sign this deal, or shut up, you know, the day before I start, or, you know, that kind of thing. Anyways,
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Ask myself, you know, the questions like, if I'm allowing something to hold me back, are those questions true? Or what is the worst that could happen? And half the time you're like, okay, if that's the worst that could happen, let's go for it.
Yeah. No, I know. I said that I was talking to someone the other day, and they were kind of doing that, and I could see that's exactly what it was. It was like, yeah, well, da 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 da, and maybe I'm not ready, and da da da. And I'm like, how much more ready do you need to be? And is that true? Like, really, is that true? Well, I heard, and I'm like, heard from where? I love this. Well, you know, I heard. And if you say to someone, heard from where?
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, no, where? Where did you hear that from? Did it come from an expert in what you're trying to make a decision about? Right? I heard. And I'm like, yeah. So look, why don't you, because I know we're getting a little close to time and I have a special little question for you. Tell us, so I know you have a book, like maybe share with us where people can hear more about legacy. I don't know if you have a Facebook group, if they can reach out to you on Facebook, like they may have personal questions, or I know you said you have a group or something. Tell us how, because I think you've spoken, you've percolated a lot of people that we're going to want some answers.
Sure. So I have my brand new website that should be up in the next week or two, but by the time this plays, it will. So that's giftsoflegacy.us. And then my group on Facebook is Gifts of Legacy. Just Gifts of Legacy. And then I also, if you want to get tips and information about building your or creating your best legacy, or writing your book, laying out your best outline, then it's Create Your Legacy on Facebook.
Awesome. I know that you're going to be sharing a little bit about legacy on the Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show Up tour.
Yes.
And you are going to be speaking, I don't know, off the top of the
July 8th.
All right. So July 8th. All right. So July 8th. That's a great month. It's the month my daughter's birthday.
Mine too. Oh, my birthday.
Yeah, your birthday too. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I have a question completely kind of off topic, but I'm sure it could relate to legacy. You're on your way to a desert island. Okay. You got one suitcase, you've packed it with all your favorite things, and you have room to slide in one album. What album would you take with you that you just could not imagine listening to for the rest of your days?
So it would probably be Dreaming Tree with Dave Matthews.
All right. Dave Matthews. There you go.
Dave.
Dave, if you're out there, Dave, send this woman a signed copy of your album. She's
exactly.
Like, Dave, my old friend.
We have seen him probably 30 or 40 times in concert, and we've got our kids addicted. So yeah, love him.
Wow. Okay. Any Dave, are you on his fan club? You need to be on his fan club. You need to tell him.
We are.
All right. Okay. Fan club / stalker. Okay.
No, not that far.
Not that far. No. No, I mean, don't we that's fantastic. Okay. So listen, lovely legacy leaving listeners. Ooh, hashtag that one. Legacy leaving listeners. I'm on it today, you guys. I'm wearing a great color. I'm on it. You guys are amazing. The Stand Up, Speak Up, and Show Up is a global party that you can come, men or women, for free. Look, it's global and it's free. You can go to debdrummond.com and go to events, and you can every single month on the 8th day of the month, all the way to International Women's Day 2024. You guys can come and hang out with us and listen to incredible speakers like Natalie. If you want to be where she's sitting and you want to come onto the podcast show, this is not difficult, people. It's deb@debdrummond.com. You know that party already. And if you love music as much as Natalie does, clearly, okay, Dave, you got to be part of the project. They did it tour.ca. Please go there. Watch the video that talks about why myself and Corrine are walking 8 marathons in 8 days to raise money for the music community, because there's lots of people that are on their way and want to be like a Dave Matthews, but not quite yet, that really need our support. And you guys know how powerful music is, and it's just given so freely. So it's time for us to do a little giving back. So if you can, and it's the right time for you, then pop over to the crowdfunding page. And if it feels right, we appreciate your support. Natalie, thank you so much. I know that we're going to be seeing you again many, many times. Thank you for what you do. Your book sounds amazing. Feel free to send a copy.
I will. I have it.
Feel free to send a copy.
Ready for you.
What parts have I missed? And with that, people, be well and stay groovy, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.